The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Books, beauty products, science, fashion, and glam talk. From Bollywood to Hollywood, it's Dr. Afshan Hashmi's radio show every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on W4WN Radio, the Women for Women Network. And here's your host, international speaker, educator, award-winning entrepreneur, and best-selling author, Dr. Afshan N. Hashmi.
Hello, listeners around the globe, live from the Louisiana studio of W4WN Radio Network. This is Dr. Afshan Hashmi's radio show. This show is syndicated live to more than 300 million listeners. Before going into the break, I would like to tell you and remind you about my two books, The Modern Mughal Mentality and The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection. Please go and buy my books and give me an honest review. The book is available in paperback, Nook, Kindle, and audiobooks. And here is my audiobooks. Not audiobooks, really. These are my two books. The Modern Mughal Mentality, New Strategies to Succeed in India and the Global Marketplace, and The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection. So having said that, friends, these books, if you have bought these books, thanks a lot. If you haven't bought these two books, then please go and buy these two books and give me an honest review. Having said that, if you have any questions, my website is www.afshanhashmi.com, and you can go to my website and see what kind of services I provide. And my email is afshan@drafshanhashmi.com. Having said that, friends, today I have a very, very unique thing to talk about, and this is a very beautiful book, my first Quran story book. But before reading it, I will go into a break and will be back soon.
Would you love exposure for your business, product, or service to over 300 million potential listeners? Send an email to info@talk4media.com. And now let's hear from some of our sponsors.
Chapter 2: How Jugaad leads to multi-sector success stories in India, including definitions of the Jugaad management principle business model of the book The Modern Mughal Mentality, New Strategies to Succeed in India and the Global Marketplace. Inspiration. True Jugaad is an inspiration on how to create products using technology that meet the price-value equation. According to a Harvard Business Review article featuring expert Prahlad and Mashelkar, most innovation programs are built on the assumptions of affluence and abundance. We see the rich and the young in both the developed and the developing countries demanding environmental friendly products and services. They also believe that affordability and sustainability are crucial to driving successful business today. New technologies and radical business models are important not only to penetrate mass markets in India but in the entire world. By reconfiguring all areas of the business structure, they will pull.
A monstrous infection is spreading worldwide. OMG, is this a simple infection or a deliberate attempt to ruin the human population? Or maybe it's bioterrorism. What is this global infection and who is spreading it? Help us find out. Go to Amazon and search for The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection. The human race needs your help to make this go viral. Go to Amazon.com and read The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection to find out what happens next. Go now! The world is depending on you.
And now, back to Dr. Afshan Hashmi's radio show.
So I love this book, my first Quran story book, and I got it while there was an exhibition here in DC. So I bought this book because this book fascinated me so much, because young kids, they need to learn about Holy Quran in a story like manner, and what are the associated stories with Holy Quran. Having said that, friends, today I will read from this, and I really loved it. Building the Kaaba. There was a dry, sandy valley in Arabia. Nothing grew there. Nobody lived there. There was no water either for man or animals. Allah told the Prophet Ibrahim alayhis salam to leave Hajra and Ismail there. Little Ismail was very thirsty and cried bitterly. He kicked the ground with his foot. Suddenly, water started to flow in the sand. This was the spring of Zamzam. It gave water to the desert valley. More people came and made houses there. This is how Makkah was built. One day, Allah ordered the Prophet Ibrahim alayhis salam to build the Kaaba at the house of God. The prophets Ibrahim and Ismail climbed the hills. They found big stones. They pushed the heavy stones down and put them in one place. When they had lots of stones, they started to build the house. They made the walls after that. They made the roof. It was a simple but beautiful house. All the time while building the house of God, they prayed, Our Lord, accept our work, accept this house we are making for you. They also prayed, Make us good so that we always bow to Allah and pray to Him. Make our people good. Make our people love you and bow to you and pray to you. Be merciful to our people. Make them turn away from anything bad and wicked. Let a great prophet be born in our family. Hear our praise. You are the most merciful. Allah listened to their prayer. Many, many years later, a great prophet was born in Arabia. He was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his messenger. Now, friends, after reading this, I will read, like, this is a very unique story which even I didn't know about, and it captured my heart reading it. So, it is the Prophet Uzair's donkey. The Prophet Uzair, or Ezra, was a very pious man. He had a donkey. Riding it, he would travel far and wide. One day he was riding his donkey as usual. He looked up and saw some ruins at the side of the road. It was an old ruined town. No one lived there. The Prophet Uzair alayhi salam said, How can Allah remake the city? How can He again make it full of people? It is totally dead. Allah hears and sees everything. He heard what the Prophet Uzair alayhi salam said. In less than a moment, Allah caused him and his donkey to die. 100 years passed. Allah brought the Prophet Uzair alayhi salam back to life. He asked the Prophet Uzair alayhi salam, Do you know how long you were dead? Uzair alayhi salam said, A day or part of a day. Allah said, You were dead for 100 years. Allah said, Look at your donkey. There are only bones left. But look what I can do. I will put flesh on the bones and I will make the donkey alive once again. The next moment, the Prophet Uzair's donkey stood in front of him. The Prophet Uzair alayhis salam looked around. The food and water he carried with him 100 years back were spread on the grass. He had a sip of the water. He put some food in his mouth. The water was fresh and the food was fresh. The Prophet Uzair alayhis salam looked again at the donkey. He looked again at the food. He said, Really, Allah has power over all things. Allah made all the things. He will remake them and give them life in the hereafter. Allah has power over all things. The story is told to reaffirm belief in hereafter and life after death. So now, friends, there are some questions. No, I think this is a private talk. So now, friends, I didn't hear about this story, but if it's written there, it must be true, because I didn't know that there is Prophet Uzair. Now there is the Prophet Yunus alayhi salam and the big fish. So this is the story here. This happened a long time ago in the city of Niva. There lived a man. He was called Yunus or Jonah alayhi salam, and he was a prophet of Allah. Allah sends prophets when he wants to tell people something special. He sent the prophet Yunus alayhi salam to teach people about Allah. But the people did not listen to Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. They laughed at him. The Prophet Yunus alayhi salam got very angry and these people and moved away from the city of Neva. What is this that Prophet Yunus got angry? As far as I know, Prophet Yunus was a very beautiful person. I don't know what this book has written. And now, friends, I will go on a break and will be back soon.
Would you love exposure for your business, product, or service to over 300 million potential listeners? Send an email to info@talkformedia.com. And now let's hear from some of our sponsors.
A monstrous infection is spreading worldwide. Oh my God, is this a simple infection or a deliberate attempt to ruin the human population? Or maybe it's bioterrorism. What is this global infection and who is spreading it? Help us find out. Go to Amazon and search for the outbreak of a monstrous infection. The human race needs your help to make this go viral. Go to Amazon.com and read The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection to find out what happens next. Go now. The world is depending on you.
The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection, Chapter 1, 1964 to 2018, and this is the sample track, and it is read by Dr. Afshan Nahid Hashmi. In a sprawling bungalow in Potomac, Maryland, USA, lived Dr. Honey Singh, a board-certified internal medicine and family practice physician, along with his beautiful wife, Baby Singh. Baby Singh was a fashionista and was funding women's causes through her Honey Bay Foundation. She had a ladies' book club by the name of Baby's Glam and Glitzy Club, which had many glam and glitzy ladies who were professionals living in Washington, D.C., Potomac, Maryland, Virginia, and even Beverly Hills, California, as well as elites from all of America meeting at her place on the last Wednesday of every month discussing various aspects of charities they wanted her and Dr. Honey to fund. In this club, there was a wide spectrum of career women. There were doctors, lawyers, actresses, business owners, and models, to name a few. In these book club meetings, members would come prepared after reading a book of a famous woman author, and that author was even invited from any part of the world to give her presentation, followed by a Q&A in this prestigious and elite gathering.
And now, back to Dr. Afshan Hashmi's radio show.
Now, friends, I will read about, because I loved Michael Jackson, and since from India, whenever he started dancing, I just loved Michael Jackson. And when Michael Jackson died, I was traveling, and on the airport, I brought this book. So it says The Final Years of Michael Jackson, unmarked by Ian Halperin. Everybody knows about Michael Jackson, so there is no point in reading about him, like his bio. Okay, but let me read little bit about the book. This investigation separates the bitter truth from the multi-layered lies and media distortions as the world says goodbye to the king of pop. This book delivers new revelations about Michael Jackson's controversial life and legacy, his multiple plastic surgeries, his skin bleaching, his sexual identity, and his potentially fatal genetic condition. In addition, Jackson's biographer Ian Halperin explores the pop star's prescriptions, drug use, and its role in the infamous 2002 baby dangling incident, the attempts to convert him to Scientology, the lineage of Michael's three children, and whether he is like biological father as he claims. Halperin scrutinizes Jackson's countless accusers, questions the former star's affection for children, and talks to the performer's celebrity supporters, including Lisa Minnelli, from Jackson's dramatic marriage to Lisa Mary Presley to gay lovers to decade long ruins with his nemesis, former California District Attorney Tom Steeden. Halperin dispels the popular myths about Michael Jackson. So this was little bit about the introduction what the book has, and it says to Michael fans who stood by him no matter what, and to his three children for whom he was most proud and dedicated father, Rip Michael. So here it is. Introduction. When before Christmas 2008, I revealed on my celebrity blog inunundercover.com that Michael Jackson had a life-threatening condition, it set off an international media frenzy. Publications ranging from US Weekly to the Washington Post, US News and World Report to Rolling Stone reported my exclusive along with thousands of other newspapers, TV stations and magazines throughout the world, including 11 outlets in China alone. On December 24, In Touch magazine quoted me as saying Jackson had 6 months to live. That day, Jackson's official spokesman, Dr. Tomi, called my report a complete fabrication. The singer, he assured the media, was in fine health. Most of the media took his word for it, and the feeding frenzy came to an abrupt halt. 6 months and 1 day later, Jackson was dead. Recently, I visited California and I had a tour of the Hollywood tour, and there I saw Michael Jackson's house from outside on the tour. It was such an emotional sight for me to see Michael Jackson's house, because I am so much into Michael Jackson songs and everything, because as you know, I love fashion and celebrities, and Hollywood and Bollywood has always inspired me. So having said that, friends, let me go on a break and we'll be back soon.
Would you love exposure for your business, product, or service to over 300 million potential listeners? Send an email to info@talkformedia.com. And now let's hear from some of our sponsors.
Chapter 2, How Jugaad Leads to Multi-Sector Success Stories in India, including definitions of the Jugaad Management Principle business model. Of the book The Modern Mughal Mentality, New Strategies to Succeed in India and the Global Marketplace. Inspiration. True Jugaad is an inspiration on how to create products using technology that meet the price-value equation. According to a Harvard Business Review article featuring expert Prahlad and Mashelkar, most innovation programs are built on the assumptions of affluence and abundance. We see the rich and the young in both the developed and the developing countries demanding environmental friendly products and services. They also believe that affordability and sustainability are crucial to driving successful business today. New technologies and radical business models are important not only to penetrate mass markets in India but in the entire world. By reconfiguring all areas of the business structure, they will pull.
monstrous infection is spreading worldwide. OMG, is this a simple infection or a deliberate attempt to ruin the human population? Or maybe it's bioterrorism. What is this global infection and who is spreading it? Help us find out. Go to Amazon and search for The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection. The human race needs your help to make this go viral. Go to Amazon.com and read The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection to find out what happens next. Go now! The world is depending on you.
And now, back to Dr. Afshan Hashmi's radio show.
Now, this is the photograph in the book. Michael Jackson with his parents, Catherine and Joe Jackson, at the Golden Globe Awards, January 1973, Hollywood, California. This is such a beautiful picture, and I really love it. Then there are some beautiful pictures here. Then there is this. There are such beautiful pictures. What if Michael would have been alive today? What a loss to this universe. Just see these pictures, beautiful pictures. My God. Hall of Fame, Rip King of Pop. I was so emotional when I heard that Michael Jackson is no more. Having said that, friends, now I go on a break and will be back soon.
Would you love exposure for your business, product, or service to over 300 million potential listeners? Send an email to info@talkformedia.com. And now let's hear from some of our sponsors.
A monstrous infection is spreading worldwide. Oh my God, is this a simple infection or a deliberate attempt to ruin the human population? Or maybe it's bioterrorism. What is this global infection and who is spreading it? Help us find out. Go to Amazon and search for The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection. The human race needs your help to make this go viral. Go to Amazon.com and read The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection to find out what happens next. Go now. The world is depending on you.
The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection, Chapter 1, 1964 to 2018, and this is the sample track, and it is read by Dr. Afshan Hashmi. In a sprawling bungalow in Potomac, Maryland, USA, lived Dr. Honey Singh, a board-certified internal medicine and family practice physician, along with his beautiful wife, Baby Singh. Baby Singh was a fashionista and was funding women's causes through her Honey Babe Foundation. She had a ladies' book club by the name of Baby's Glam and Glitzy Club, which had many glam and glitzy ladies who were professionals living in Washington, D.C. D.C., Potomac, Maryland, Virginia, and even Beverly Hills, California, as well as elites from all of America meeting at her place on the last Wednesday of every month discussing various aspects of charities they wanted her and Dr. Honey to fund. In this club, there was a wide spectrum of career women. There were doctors, lawyers, actresses, business owners, and models, to name a few. In these book club meetings, members would come prepared after reading a book of a famous woman author, and that author was even invited from any part of the world to give her presentation, followed by a Q&A in this prestigious and elite gathering.
And now, back to Dr. Afshan Hashmi's radio show.
So now, friends, I will read a little bit more about the book. And it says, this picture, I cannot comprehend that Michael Jackson died so young. In May 2009, The Sun reported that Jackson was suffering from the early stages of skin cancer. Observers found this to be remarkable because he is virtually never exposed to the sun, carrying an umbrella whenever he ventures outdoors. Perhaps a clue can be found in a 2006 report by the US Food and Drug Administration that proposed banning over-the-counter skin bleaching creams because of the risk of skin cancer. I didn't know that Michael Jackson was suffering from skin cancer and there was some defective cream there. I think all creams coming like dietary supplements and all should be looked over before they come from anywhere, because like dietary supplements, like they don't get approved by FDA. This is so grueling. I don't know what products like are being sold in dietary supplements, and having read that, I am feeling so bad and so emotional that Michael Jackson had skin cancer because of all this. This is a thing which America has to look also. And now, friends, I will be talking a little bit about what's the harm. A veteran Hollywood reporter asked me one day when I mentioned these issues, do you really think that makes Michael Jackson different from any other celebrity? And now, friends, I have some interesting guest. He was a co-host with Rebel Medler, my sound engineer. So I have given him some time on the show, and this is like a free time for him. And so Gray Robinson, hi, this Dr. Afshan Hashmi welcomes you to the show. So please tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, Dr. Hashmi, and thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show. I'm very honored.
You are welcome.
To tell the viewers a little bit about myself, I've been a lawyer for many years. I was a trial attorney and
which attorney?
Yes.
So what kind of trial attorney?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I did for the first 30 years of my practice.
Okay.
And
you don't look that old. You don't look that old that you practiced for 30 years as an attorney.
Well, it's been longer than that, but thank you very much. Flattery will get you everywhere. The interesting part of my story is in 2004, 17 years ago, I burned out and had an emotional breakdown.
Okay.
The issue was stress and anxiety, and back then there weren't a lot of resources for attorneys who were dealing with stress, and I didn't know what to do. I just came to the point where I just didn't even want to go into my office anymore. I didn't want to talk to clients. I didn't want to go to court, and I just decided to quit. And since that time, I have been on a mission to try to find out what happened. And because I'm a third generation trial attorney. My grandfather was a judge. My father was a very
Okay.
famous trial attorney.
Okay.
Um, I was a very successful trial attorney. I have a brother who's a judge. I have another brother who's a lawyer, and I have a twin brother who's a doctor.
Okay.
So you wouldn't think that someone from that kind of a background would have an emotional problem, but I sure did. And what I've been doing for the last 17 years is I've been training, I have done research, I have taken a lot of courses, I have had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients who I've helped deal with stress, anxiety, physical problems, emotional problems, relationship problems. Um, I had a radio show with Rebel that was dedicated to um, relationships, and I did that with my wife. So I've had a lot of experience in what can happen to people when they get into a profession and all of a sudden it's not what they expected. It's they're having this hard time dealing with the pressure. Their family life, their relationships are not successful. They're stressful, and when people come to this situation in life, they really need help in understanding what is happening to them and why they're experiencing all of the stress and anxiety that they're experiencing. And I deal primarily with lawyers, although I certainly can help anybody. I have a special place in my heart for lawyers because I understand what they're going through. I understand what they have to do to deal with clients, with their colleagues, with their adversaries, the judges. The whole system is really uh, more about the adversarial system and fighting, having to fight for everything. And some people are very well suited for that. However, the statistics aren't very good for success. I think about 40% of lawyers have experienced depression. A very conservative number is about 25 to 30% have become addicted to substances, either alcohol or drugs.
So I have a
Uh,
question, Gary, for you. Like you were an attorney, as far as I heard the conversations with you, and do you have degree in psychology also? How were you practicing all this? Well, you had a degree in law. Then how did you transform into this thing, like helping attorneys and all? Because that is the thing. Like one has to be licensed, and one has to go through all those schools for training. So how did you land up there? That is a question in my mind.
I'm certified in NLP coaching. I'm certified
What
in
is
ICF,
NLP? What is NLP?
neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay. What it is?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay. So what is that training? Please tell my viewers about it.
Neuro-linguistic programming is a system by what the effect language and perception has on the brain and
Okay.
on what we experience in life.
Okay.
Because we all are programmed to a certain extent uh, by our families, by our culture, by our geography, uh, what we've learned in education. All of these have a impact on how we view and interpret information.
So like with the conversations with you, like I have gathered this thing in my mind. The question which is coming is this, that what when you, like, a criminal attorney sees crimes every day and they have to go and present in court, so maybe that thing was coming up on you, and you transformed into this thing, because you must, all your colleagues must be mostly criminal attorneys, so you must be prosecuting criminals every day, or you are coming from the, you are not a prosecutor, you were like you were getting clients from the criminal side you were representing, or what kind of clients did you have?
I had clients I was defending on criminal charges. I also had clients who had been injured and they were suing the people that had injured them,
Okay.
or I was representing the people that were accused of injuring someone.
Okay.
Uh, when people get divorced, I would be hired to represent the husband or the wife.
Okay.
Uh, I have done corporate litigation where one business is suing another business
Okay.
because they're saying somebody did something unfair or they defrauded them on some commercial deal. And so I have a very wide range of experience while I was a lawyer. And that's a great question because I think a lot of lawyers don't appreciate the fact that they are subject to compassion fatigue. It's similar to what first responders experience when they come up on an accident scene and they see all these people that are injured or people that are in the military. They go, they're fighting, they're exposed to loud noises and watching their friends be killed or injured. It's trauma. And so attorneys, whether they realize it or not, are exposed to trauma quite regularly. They hear tragic stories from their clients. They hear about tragic stories in the media, and it's a lot of times lawyers are not properly trained to deal with these tragedies day after day after day. And it's called secondary response. And what happens is that they take on all of this injury and they become just as traumatized as the people they're representing. And
So like
so
I have heard, read a lot of books about mob lawyers, so would you term yourself as a mob lawyer, or just like a simple law firm which is representing criminals, or what would you think about that? What is a mob lawyer?
I don't have any experience representing uh, the mob. I would say
What is
my,
mob, like mafia?
well,
Yes.
organized crime.
Okay, okay.
I think that uh, a lot of lawyers uh, have a high threshold of whatever where they draw the line on helping people who are accused of crime.
Okay.
Uh, People who represent people who are accused of committing a crime, those people have a constitutional right to an attorney, and so attorneys who represent people who are accused of crime are fulfilling that role in society. Now, whether or not a lawyer knows their client is participating in organized crime and is regularly engaged in criminal conduct, I don't think most lawyers will not knowingly participate in that. According to Hollywood, there are many of them, but I have my doubts about that. I
So,
think that,
Gary, how would you take the pressure? Because since you are a criminal attorney, many organized crimes people must be approaching you that represent me or represent this. So, how do you deal with that kind of pressure?
well, there's, like I said before, there are most or more than 50% lawyers are emotionally and mentally healthy, and they have the emotional maturity to deal with this stress day in, day out. They have balance in their lives, they have support systems set up. so that they are not negatively impacted by doing this all the time. There is a significant portion of the law community, like I said, 30-40% of lawyers have experienced depression. So that means they don't know how to handle the stress. And so what I do is I find out why they're stressed. We get to the root cause of it, and I give them some suggestions on how to change their perception of things, how to do some things differently, how to think about things differently, so that it's not so much stress, it's more about helping people.
So you had a show with the Rebel. So why did you leave that show? Because giving shows increases your creativity. What I feel like, whenever I am stressed out, when I come to my radio show or TV show, I get de-stressed out. So what led you to leave the show?
Well, my business got so busy. I've had so many clients. I really didn't have the time to devote to a weekly radio show. I mean, it took a lot of research. It took a lot of preparation for every one of my shows, and they're still archived on Voice America. It's called Soul Spark. If anybody wants to do it, but we had it was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. However, I had to choose whether I was going to be doing this business of helping lawyers or being helping people with their relationships, and it was more important to me to help the lawyers who are, watching their careers go down the tubes because they didn't know how to handle the stress.
So what was the name of the show with Rebel?
Soul Spark.
So Rebel was on this network, right?
She was my producer.
Oh, she was your producer.
Just like she's doing with you. She's
not my producer. She's not my producer. She's my sound engineer. So there is a difference between producer and sound engineer. Yeah.
Well, she made it happen. All I did was show up.
Oh, okay.
Rebel was the key to the whole house. But it was the thing that I discovered is that there are a lot of different causes for burnout for lawyers. One is that one thing a lot of people don't understand is that the same things that make lawyers successful can make them burn out. It's that desire to be the best. It's the desire to do the more than anybody else. It's the aversion to failure. You may be familiar with the term perfectionism. All of these things are.
So Gary, if people want to reach you, what is your email and what is your website?
My website is lawyerlifeline.net.
Okay.
LAWYERLIFELINE.net.
Okay.
And so it's just think of somebody throwing a life preserver. That's the Lawyer Lifeline.
Okay. Thank you, Gary, for coming in the show. I really appreciate that and hope you are successful in life. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hashmi. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, friends, this was my guest in the show, Gary. And now, friends, before going on a break, I want to remind you that I have these two books. The Modern Mughal Mentality, New Strategies to Succeed in India and the Global Marketplace, and The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection. So these two books are available wherever books are sold, and please go and buy these two books and give me an honest review. Having said that, friends, now I want to go on a break and we'll be back soon.
Would you love exposure for your business, product, or service to over 300 million potential listeners? Send an email to info@talk4media.com. And now let's hear from some of our sponsors.
A monstrous infection is spreading worldwide. Oh my God, is this a simple infection or a deliberate attempt to ruin the human population? Or maybe it's bioterrorism. What is this global infection and who is spreading it? Help us find out. Go to Amazon and search for the outbreak of a monstrous infection. The human race needs your help to make this go viral. Go to Amazon.com and read The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection to find out what happens next. Go now. The world is depending on you.
The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection, Chapter 1, 1964 to 2018, and this is the sample track, and it is read by Dr. Afshan Hashmi. In a sprawling bungalow in Potomac, Maryland, USA, lived Dr. Honey Singh, a board-certified internal medicine and family practice physician, along with his beautiful wife, Baby Singh. Baby Singh was a fashionista and was funding women's causes through her Honey Bay Foundation. She had a ladies' book club by the name of Baby's Glam and Glitzy Club, which had many glam and glitzy ladies who were professionals living in Washington, D.C., Potomac, Maryland, Virginia, and even Beverly Hills, California, as well as elites from all of America meeting at her place on the last Wednesday of every month, discussing various aspects of charities they wanted her and Dr. Honey to fund. In this club, there was a wide spectrum of career women. There were doctors, lawyers, actresses, business owners, and models, to name a few. In these book club meetings, members would come prepared after reading a book of a famous woman author, and that author was even invited from any part of the world to give her presentation, followed by a Q&A in this prestigious and elite gathering.
And now, back to Dr. Afshan Hashmi's radio show.
So friends, I just wanted to remind you of my 2 books, and the time has come to wrap up the show, and I will see you tomorrow in my Hollywood online radio show, and so please tune in at 6 p.m. US Eastern Time. Having said that, friends, cheers, and this is your loving host, Dr. Afshan Hashmi, now signing off from this episode of my radio show, and bye-bye.
You have been listening to Dr. Afshan Hashmi's radio show on W4WN Radio, the Women for Women Network. Tune in live right here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Would you love exposure for your business, product, or service to over 300 million potential listeners? Send an email at info@talk4media.com. And remember, if you missed any part of this show or want to hear it again, find our featured show on iHeartRadio, where all past episodes are available on demand 24/7. See you next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.